Welcome to Sportsbookreview.com. I'm Flash and I'm joined by Donny and Drew, and we're looking at the 2020 NFL regular season win totals, and we're going to go to the AFC West, which is home of the Super Bowl champs. 11.5 the Chiefs, 8 for the Broncos, 7.5 for the Chargers, 7.5 for the Raiders. Drew, outside of the Chiefs, it's just 500 at best.
That's probably fair, but also the division overall, really stocked with talent. A lot of pretty positive decision making in the front offices this free agency period for all of these teams. Obviously, you have the Chiefs. This is the Chiefs' division to lose. They will be. They're going to go on a Patriots-esque run here of just winning the AFC West year in, year out for as long as we're going to do these sort of shows, is my guess. Pat Mahomes is probably the clear and obvious most valuable player to a franchise that we've ever seen in the modern NFL. What he can do from the quarterback position and his age and his contract, all of this spells, an absolute dream scenario for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they're 100% fair contenders and for the AFC and for the Super Bowl again. They haven't really done anything in this free agency period that I would think suggests, clear and obvious regression for this team. And you remember they got the 2 seed last year, and it was, that included like 3 starts from Matt Moore. And that included, a bunch of, Pat Mahomes starts where he was dealing with a hand injury and a knee injury. And, if they get a full healthy season out of Pat Mahomes this year, their floor is probably 12 wins. I think this is, pretty clearly your odds-on favorite to win the West, and should be your odds-on favorite to win the AFC and the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, Donny, you look at them and you think, are they going to be able to lose 5 games? And 11.5 is almost Patriot-esque.
And it really is. And it actually brings me back, maybe about 10 years ago or so when you finally figured out what you had with Aaron Rodgers once he won a Super Bowl with Green Bay. Now, he hasn't been back to winning a Super Bowl, but it's one of those things where if you're a GM or a head coach, you can mess up the roster and you just color code in 10 to 11 wins each and every year because of how talented your quarterback is. That's what you're getting now. And you saw it. Like, if you cannot beat in a Super Bowl with an elite level defense like the 49ers, where for 2.5 to 3 quarters, the Kansas City Chiefs basically don't show up and say, you know what? Let me just turn it on for about 5 minutes here and knock you right out of the football game. It's amazing what they can actually do. The only thing stops this football team, and Drew is right, over the next 5 to 10 years is if Patrick Mahomes says, well, I want 75% of the salary cap and I don't care who plays with me, or if he gets injured. This team's set to move, and you're looking at a lot of moving parts in this division. I actually like some of these teams here outside of going head-to-head with Kansas City, some integral parts that are moving back and forth. But who's betting against this team? Oh, the Super Bowl regression. That's not going to happen. Andy Reid is a really good football coach, one of the best preparers of talent, and you couple him with one of the best players we've ever seen over the past 20 years in Patrick Mahomes. It's only to win this division. You'd be foolish to take it under unless you're just betting on a loss. And Drew brings up a great point. This team won the Super Bowl with the quarterback dislocating his knee midseason and coming back and winning the Super Bowl. Amazing stuff, man. Kansas City's going to be good.
Yeah, you're only going under 11.5 if you think that Mahomes gets injured and he's out for the whole season. What about the Broncos at 8? Because I'm tempted to go under that, Donny.
This is interesting because obviously we got a good chuckle last year out of Joe Flacco. And I'm telling you, I bet him a couple times early in the season. And all I said is, Joe, just don't throw the interception on 3rd down and let's punt. We're going to win this football game. And he continued bad plays after bad plays after bad plays. But then you bring the young gunslinger in and the offense starts moving. You have some talent at wide receiver doing a good job on defense. You're going to be able to lean on this defense. And I always like when you get that rookie quarterback, Flash, some game time experience and some success, and send him into the offseason, because you're also looking at a team. The Raiders are a little bit of upheaval. You see the Chargers that we're going to talk about had done some really good things on defense, but again, losing their quarterback they've had for the past 15 years, there's a lot of upheaval, but there's a lot to like about the Denver Broncos. I'm leaning on their team total going over this year as long as I can see a steady impression from a good young quarterback. Boy, the talent is there on this football team.
Yeah, there is talent. They do lead on the D, Drew, but I just think that I'm not expecting them to be over 500.
This one is a fun one. Really, this one's a gamble. You don't really know what you're going to get out of Drew Lock this year. He could be a top half of the league quarterback, and they could go 10-6. He could be a total fool's gold, and throw them out of games, and they could go 6-10. Outside of Drew Lock, they have an extremely talented team. I didn't love that. It felt like free agency was really like building some steam. Like, wow, like this Broncos team, like they are going to be nasty next year. Then they lose Chris Harris in division. That kind of stinks. I didn't love that. Then they get Melvin Gordon. Like, you had Philip Lindsay. You had, Royce Freeman was a fine backup. Like, I don't know why you needed to invest in the running back position. They have draft capital where they can get another young wide receiver. There's a ton of good young receivers coming out this year in the draft. So I think they're going to have an absolutely loaded team. The entire question is, does Drew Lock make the, kind of the progression step which you need to be a contender in the AFC this year? They're a fringe wild card team, in my opinion, just on the basis of how strong some of their blue chip players are, especially still on defense. But it's a gamble. Like if you think Drew Lock, if you're not buying into him as the long-term answer at quarterback position, then this is a good underlook, because there's going to be there are going to be some games where they should win, and Drew Lock as a young and inexperienced quarterback could throw them out of it. So it's a wild one. Don't love Vic Fangio. Don't love the way they coordinate their offense, but they're so damn talented. They should win some football games.
Drew, we've got Chargers and the Raiders both at 7.5, so they're just under 500.
Yeah. I'll go Chargers. Of those two, I think the Chargers have a higher ceiling, a higher likelihood of making their number. I really, really like all of the free agency decisions they made, but kind of in the exact same conversation we had about the Colts, minus the fact that I don't love Anthony Lynn as a head coach. They have so much freaking talent. They made some nice moves on the D line. They brought in Linval Joseph, who is one of the most sacrificial defensive linemen in terms of eating up blockers. That's going to free up a guy like Joey Bosa is going to have. He's going to have just an absolutely stupid sack total this year with playing next to Linval Joseph. They're going to get Derwin James back in the secondary, who I think is one of the young budding stars across the league. So defensively, they have probably one of the more talented rosters at all three levels of defense. And I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in terms of kind of keeping scores down. Now, the question is, what in the heck are you going to get out of Tyrod Taylor? He obviously dragged a Buffalo Bills team that had a similar kind of roster composition. He took them through the playoffs. But guy took way too many sacks. He holds on to the ball way too long. There are still some problems, some questions with the offensive line here. So this looks like, to me, like a team, we're not going to bet over or under their win totals. We're just going to hammer unders game by game this season and make them in.
Yeah. What about the Raiders, Donnie, at 7.5? Do you fancy they go over?
I don't think they go over, and the reason being, again, you get back to it. I think you have a pretty competitive division with, obviously, I think the best team in the NFL is the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're coming in with a really loaded up, talented team in the Denver Broncos, especially on defense when they're getting some of their guys healthy. Then you look at the chart, go up and down that Chargers starting 11 on defense. They're going to be in each and every single game they play, and I got to tell you, I agree with Tyrod Taylor, and what a great bring-up of this. Really mirrors the Buffalo Bills of a couple years ago. Let's play sick defense. Tyrod, make a couple plays. Don't make the big play, but also don't turn it over, and if it's 3rd and 6, you can run with your feet to keep the chains moving, and that's the way we'll get in it. Well, then you get to the playoffs, and you play the Jacksonville Jaguars with a really good defense who had an abysmal quarterback play an abysmal game, and you still lost to Blake Bortles in that game. It has a lot of the feel. I wish they had even a young quarterback to get after. Like, let's just take a look and superimpose two teams. You take the Denver Broncos with Drew Lock, and you said, well, Drew Lock is actually the quarterback now of the Chargers. My eyes would light up saying you're at least going to get some exciting play at quarterback with a kid that has a gunslinger mentality that's going to be able to make plays with these dynamic wide receivers and running backs that you have. But I just think this is a team that's going to be built for the regular season, which is pretty good if you're going to have a team total. But Drew brings up another good point as well. Unders are going to be the key here, because Tyrod Taylor's not going to throw you to victory, but he's also not going to throw you into the loss column as well. They'll play sick defense. And again, keep in mind, they never have a home field advantage. Who knows when they go into their new dome if it's even going to be empty people in there, or even more fans again cheering against them in a domed environment with a capacity to fit even more opposing fans. But this defense is awesome. If Tyrod Taylor can give them something, they'll hit their team total. But again, it's a wait-and-see approach. This also isn't Tyrod Taylor of a couple years ago. He's also a few years older and hasn't played all that much.
Yeah, I think we just wrap up the AFC West and say the only way you play any sort of total in this division is you go over Kansas City Chiefs and you go minimum. They go 12-4, and we expect to see them deep into the postseason. So it's the Chiefs in the AFC West, and the rest, they're a watching brief. Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Donny, and we'll see you again soon.